1 minute. Five, four, three, two, 1, 0.
Yo, what's up, family? Welcome to another encounter with the well. We are live, and it is June the 10th, 2021. And we are so happy to be with you. We just want to take a moment, welcome you to the well, and ask everybody to share this, like this post on your Facebook. If you're on YouTube, you know you're already on the link. But then take a moment, comment, let us know you're here, like Monica just did, and let us know you're here. I see that Miss Kennard is on, and all the people who are watching, we welcome you in. And then take a moment and share it. Like, share it to your page. Put this on your page and take a moment and share it to your text messaging. You can copy the link and text message it the way I just did to my grandmother, who I know is hopefully watching. I didn't see it pop up yet, so she might be calling me in a few minutes saying, I need the link. But listen, we're just glad that you're here with us. What is the well? Listen,
what is the well?
The well is a conscious awareness faith community that we believe you can encounter the well, that you become the well, and then you emerge and share the well. And those words are synonymous with things like Jesus. You encounter Jesus, become more like Jesus, emerge and share Jesus. Encounter love, become more love, emerge and share love. Encounter the Holy Spirit, become the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Woo! Emerge and share the Holy Spirit. Anyway, all right, let me stop.
Are we having church or are we having talk? Like, get me prepared now. Both? Okay.
Yeah, both.
Okay.
Look, I'm just excited to be with you all. Sabrina Hill, hey, everybody. Like I said, comment, let us know you're here. And tonight we're starting our June series.
June!
It's our June series.
So much time!
Our June series is a series called A New Normal. A new normal. Because, I mean, wow, we're living in a new normal time.
Yeah, it is a new normal now.
And tonight we're gonna start it off with a COVID-19 conversation. What are we doing after post-COVID-19? But 3J, listen.
What's up, bro?
There's this thing we do, these 5 Ps. We want people to walk down this road of 5 Ps. You want to share with those? We want you to walk down the road of 5 Ps. The path to the 5 Ps.
The passion, the purpose, the promise, the peace, and the power.
Listen.
That's just beautiful.
That is amazing.
Where did you come up with them 5 Ps?
Listen,
I know God alone.
It's literally God.
Okay.
But everything that we do at the well should lead people down that path to the 5 Ps. You should find your passion, purpose, peace, power, promise in the conversations that we're having, because they're lit.
They are lit.
You know what I'm saying?
Lit. What's your favorite P?
I think my favorite P, it used to be the passion part, and it still kind of is, but I think I like the power piece. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Moving power.
I get that.
Yeah. What about you?
I think I have to say promise.
Okay.
Because every time I hear promise, I think of God's promises.
Yeah.
So I think promise is my favorite P. And then purpose comes right after that.
That's dope. Well, guess what? We're not in this conversation with just the 2 of us alone.
Let's get the squad!
Look, we want to bring in, first of all, shout out to Amplify Network, Jackie and
the voice
Terrence.
of God, thank you.
And then we want to bring in our panel. Some of them you know and some of them you don't know. Let's go, Jackie.
Let's get it. What's up, family?
What's up, family? Listen, we're going to go around in a circle. Y'all know our brother who's on every week with us, Brennen B. Say something to the people, man.
Black at it again. We black at it to win. What's popping, people?
I know that's right. Pastor Tay, who is always one of our special. He's not even really a guest because really he's home with the fam on the well. So why don't you say something to people? Let them know, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Blessed to be here. Thanks for having me again. This is awesome.
We family,
yes, sir.
man. You're always on here.
Shout out to A Blazing Radio, Church Mind and Matter.
A Blaze.
Every Sunday, 2 to 4.
And then listen, we have a special queen on with us tonight, who I've had the pleasure to just briefly kind of talk to. Brennen B. this is fam to Brennen B. The queen, the one and only, Miss Terri. Is it Michele?
Michele. Yes.
Terri Michele.
Hello,
I want to mess up the name. Miss Terri, why don't you say hello to people and let us know what you do, where you are, where you're from.
Hi, everybody. My name is Terri, and I'm from Rochester, New York. And I've known Brennen forever. And he's right. We are fam, basically. I'm from Rochester, New York. I am a physician assistant here in Rochester, New York. Just doing my medical thing. So happy to be here tonight.
Hold on. She. I can't let her get off with that because you got to tell them where you're originally from too.
Well, okay. You're right about that. Thank you for reminding me.
Listen, I want you to get caught up in the game. You feel me?
Amen. I feel you, bro. Born and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So my family is still there. I travel there often. At least I will once these COVID restrictions are lifted, which happily is happening soon. So, yep, we'll be making a trip soon.
That's super dope. Well, listen, if you're ever in the DMV area, you got to come past and visit all of us so we can check in with you.
We'll do.
I know Brennen. He comes up every now and then. I'm waiting for him to return, so we can go have a good time.
Listen, we're gonna be back. We're gonna be back.
I like that.
Listen,
I told y'all we already I gotta go to the go again. So I mean,
that's
I'm coming back to that alone.
That's happening.
Absolutely.
Backyard of essence.
So listen, I know I want people to go ahead and share what we're doing. We want to go ahead and get to the conversation. So all of you all who are tuned in, make sure you're commenting and letting us know that you're here. I think I saw Ms. Nikki commented, Crystal Sage, and Maria Ball. I see that you're on, so hello to all the folks that are on with us. I see Mama is up in the chat, so hey Mama. I'm talking about Brennen B's Mama.
Hey, shout out to
see Terri, I told you. I told you she was gonna pop up.
Did you peep that? Let's go. Yeah, Pastor Mo with purpose. Miss Mitchell, I'm gonna say that with purpose. Miss Nikki James, I ain't messing up no name. Passionate and promise. I like. Hey, they got it. They hooked up.
That's it. That's it.
That P's moving, man.
So listen, as we go into our conversation tonight, let me start with you, Terri. I want to ask you a question, just for our folks at home. What does a physician's assistant do? Like, what does that look like?
All right, so a physician assistant is in the medical field, trained much in the same way as doctors are, except we don't go to school as long. It's usually a 5-year program. But basically, we practice medicine just like a medical doctor would. We see patients, we take histories, we do an assessment, we prescribe medications, we refer you to people when you need to be referred to other clinicians. So PAs are a very important part of the healthcare system.
Nice.
And don't ever call them a nurse.
Yeah, we're not nurses. Yeah, okay, so let me go here. Because, you're a nurse practitioner. No. And shout out to my nurse practitioner friends out there. It's no disrespect to y'all. Nurses are wonderful. But I am a very proud physician assistant. Okay?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they are not the same.
That's dope. And then Pastor Tay, what people don't always know about you is that you are in the medical field as well.
Yeah, in a secular field, I actually am a medical research coordinator for Johns Hopkins. And it's funny because I am a part of the COVID 5002 study, nationwide study, over 4,000 people studying the effects of COVID on inner city communities. So it's kind of right up my alley.
Yo, that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
And
a survivor of COVID.
And a survivor of COVID. That's right. Because we had you on to talk about COVID when you had just gotten through COVID, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because Miss Nikki says physicians' assistants they're essentially doctors without the doctor.
I'm nothing of that.
So, right.
Look, let's hit this crap.
My question, I guess, my first question tonight is this. Listen, is the vaccine safe? Is it safe?
That's a good question. That's a good way to start that off. So, Miss Terri, could you stop for us, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So is the vaccine safe? Yes, it is. So it's been well studied. So far from what we've seen, well tolerated. You know, the science behind the creation of vaccines is solid science. It's some of the best science that we have out there in the medical field. Vaccines have been around forever for a reason. So they've been proven to be safe, and these particular vaccines have been proven to be safe from what we know so far. So yeah, I think the vaccines actually are very safe.
One of the things actually Terri helped me to realize through just conversation was that, like, fam, they didn't come up with this vaccine in a year. Like, it wasn't like they had nothing and then vaccine, because that was my perception at first. I thought, I was like, you know, and that was part of my skepticism as a proud, you know, Team Vax member over here. I got both shots and as a proud Team Vax member, like at first it was just like nah fam, they take longer to develop a new phone than they did, you know, with this vaccine. But it definitely helped to talk with some medical professionals just about like the vaccine creation process, and in particular this vaccine. You know, it wasn't like they didn't start creating it last year in March when COVID hit, and then, you know, we got vaccine this year in March. Like that wasn't the case, and it was reassuring for me. Yeah.
Coronaviruses have been around for a long time, so they've been working on this for a while. This is just a different strain of a coronavirus that has proven to be, unfortunately, pretty harmful. So the fact that, you know, people will say it came out too soon or they pushed us along too fast, not necessarily. You know, I think that's the thing that I need people to get, is that coronaviruses have been around forever. So and so has the you know, the science behind the vaccine.
Yeah. And so I see Miss Nikki ask, has it been around haven't they been developing for like 10 years or so? But sounds like maybe even more than 10 years. But, you know, Tehran, is that, and Terri, do you guys both know that to be true, that it's been over a decade to?
I don't know the timeline, but I know it hasn't been just a year. This has been an ongoing thing for a while.
Right. Yeah, so probably back around 2004, 2005, there was a SARS outbreak, particularly in Canada and other parts of the world. And that was caused by a coronavirus. So from that time, they have been kind of experimenting with different vaccines, seeing how that particular virus works. So again, I feel like they've been studying this particular virus and how it behaves for a while. So maybe not, you know, decades or centuries, but definitely within the last 10 years or so.
Yeah. So, with both of you all being in the hospital, right? There are some people who are talking about, you know, people are dying from the vaccine. I know that, you know, there are side effects. My mom got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and she was down for maybe about 3 days. I had my vaccine. I didn't necessarily have too many side effects. I had maybe about 45 minutes of some stuff, but it quickly passed. There's some other folks who have like the Moderna or the Pfizer, who I know they've had their side effects, and, you know, they've gotten sick for a while. So I know that there are some side effects, but some people also say, you know, I've heard the reports that there are a few folks who have passed away, perhaps from complications from the vaccine. I know that the Johnson & Johnson was pulled for a second or so for its side effects. what, why are we seeing that? And like, is that to be expected, that side effects are they normal, or is this brand new? Like, should we be scared out of our minds because of these side effects? Can you all help us to put that in perspective?
Yeah. So side effects, I think, are to be expected. So side effects, there's literally nothing, whether it's a medication or a vaccine, that doesn't come with some risk of some sort of side effect, right? So side effects are common with this vaccine. We have seen it. Certainly, you'll get pain at the site, but we have also seen people get ill. They're kind of flu-like symptoms for a couple of days, but literally it lasts a couple of days for most people, and then you're fine. It's like nothing ever happened. And that doesn't happen with everybody, right? I got the vaccine. I felt nothing. I almost felt like there was something wrong with me because, like, everybody I knew was, they had to take a day off of work and everything. And I'm like, what's the big deal? I don't understand. So, but it's different for everybody. I think with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, we saw a particular side effect that seemed to happen, particularly in younger people, younger women, where blood clots occurred. So they pulled it for a minute just to kind of get a handle on, okay, is this something that is it caused by the shot, or is this something that these women were kind of predisposed to? Maybe they had other underlying medical conditions that we weren't aware of. But once they looked at all the data, they determined, yeah, it's safe to continue on with this vaccine. I mean, I think, to put it in perspective, the other thing that causes blood clots is COVID, right? So it's like you're taking a risk anyway, so so it's like, which one do you want? And frankly, the risk of the blood clots with the vaccine is much, much lower. Most people do just fine with the vaccine. So I would say, if you're concerned about that, if you're somebody who's already predisposed to having blood clots, or you've had some, talk to your doctor about it. Maybe the Johnson & Johnson vaccine isn't for you. But the good news is there's 2 other perfectly safe vaccines that you can get, right? So yeah, side effects are to be expected. Deaths are where we start to worry. And I have not heard of any significant numbers of deaths from the vaccine itself. I believe when the Johnson & Johnson had the blood clots, there was a fatality with that due to the blood clots. And yeah. So, but yeah, cause and effect as far as just getting the shot, just the average risk of anybody dying from getting the shot we've not seen it, which is awesome.
Yeah. I guess, like, for everybody on the panel, I just like, how do y'all feel, 3J, Tay, Brennen, like, were y'all, and I think there's only one of us who hasn't been.
And that's me. And so I will say that right now. I am the one that has not gotten vaccinated. I will say. I guess I got to start it off.
Well, no, I wanted to ask, like,
I guess I start this off.
Well, no. I guess my question was going to be, like, was there skepticism, and is there? So for you, is there? And for everybody else, was there skepticism?
Is there skepticism? No, I just didn't want to take it right then and there until I got more research on it. You know what I'm saying? It's just hearing about a vaccine, like, oh, you got to get this. I'm not about to stick nothing in my body that I know nothing about. So until I got more research and really felt comfortable, then I was like, oh, okay, well, it is just a shot, just to, maybe it ain't that bad. So, I'm not skeptical about it anymore. It was, at first, y'all throwing out something that I don't know about. No, I'm not about to do that. Like, I'm sorry. That's just not me. But now that I have research about it, I'm more comfortable to go get it now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then with seeing my grandparents, seeing my uncle, seeing my mother, and them get it, they're just all perfectly fine. It was like, oh, okay, man. This is okay now. So yeah. I wasn't a test dummy. Sorry.
Nah, I was in that same boat, 3J. I'm with you on that, bro. I was smooth like, hey, when they tell me I can get it, I might let the first round take it. You know what I mean? Let me see what y'all doing. Make sure nobody come out here, I don't want no second noses popping up or nothing on my cheek or something. I'm gonna let y'all. I think Ray, actually, me and you talked about it too, and I told you, I was like, I'm probably gonna get it, but I'm gonna wait. You know.
Yeah, I was still that way. I'm getting it, but I'm waiting.
I think
Hey,
part
Brendan,
of that.
you know what it reminds me of, bro? It reminds me. Y'all know how people when new cars come out that you want, and everybody's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna let the first round come out, and then when they come out for the next year, I'll get it." But then I got the glitches out.
That's like any gaming system, like Xbox or PlayStation. Right. We always let the first batch go because it's always glitches, something always wrong. But then when they fix it, okay, go get it now.
on like when those iPhones or Androids, like when the phones come out, you're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna let them go ahead for like a couple of months, and then the second batch,
see how that battery works."
Can't compare that to movie stuff.
Yeah, no movies.
That was literally.
First night we.
But I think like 3J said though, it was doing more research, and for me the ultimate decision was just like, man, I want to see my fam, and like I can't do it if I don't have the vax. So and it's like, hey fam, if God take me out through the vax, then I was supposed to go out through the vax.
Wow. I really don't think the way I figured, I was like, man, I survived bodies, I ain't about to take it. But you know, work wise, you know, I had to take it, work for Hopkins, working around COVID. And then, I mean, COVID has affected my family in such a drastic way. I wouldn't feel right, you know what I mean, not taking it, not being protected, not being able to see my family. So I took it.
Right.
I do have a follow-up question, but I do want to, well, first, hey, my godfather Barton, who's on, and, you know, shout out to him. He's in the hospital right now. So, look, godfather, get better. We're praying for you. But Miss Nikki says, I learned that the common cold is also a form of the coronavirus. Does that mean this vaccine or the technology could be used to potentially develop effective treatment with that as well, since we've never had a cure or treatment for the common cold?
I think that's a maybe, because common colds can be caused by other types of viruses too. So there's rhinoviruses, you know, there's all kind of viruses. So you might have some extra protection by getting this shot from other coronaviruses. That's true. But will it necessarily say that we won't get sick with the cold anymore? We're probably not there yet, just because there's so many other viruses out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because I mean, is that what you are? And Tehran, you in the hospital too. I mean, is that what you all are hearing? Is like is that what's causing most of the skepticism? Is people just not knowing, or you know, like I know there was a lot about the Tuskegee Project, so a lot of Black folks just have been scarred. You know, like what are all of the? Do you have a combination of things that you just you're both hearing that? And even y'all, Brendan, 3J, like, what are your friends? Like, what are people saying?
I can speak on that. I mean, I know just when we go out into the inner city in certain neighborhoods where there's a predominantly Black, they don't trust the man. You know what I mean? We come in this big van coming out saying, hey, we want to touch your blood and give you COVID test. Like, nah, you know, why are you coming to us? And it's just been that systemic racism that's, like you mentioned the Tuskegee and all those things like that. We don't forget, you know what I mean? So it's this mistrust with healthcare, with government, with everything. It's the whole gambit. So when we go out there, even if when we're trying to do something to help, it's still that I don't know what y'all really trying to do type of thing. It's that trust that you have to build up.
I agree.
And that's probably the hardest problem as a medical researcher. That's the hardest problem you have, getting trust to say this is for your benefit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I piggyback on that. Like, I think you're absolutely right. Systemic racism is a huge part to play in skepticism right now. Lack of governmental trust. I mean, I got a lot of patients saying, "Oh, that's the Trump vaccine. I don't want it." You know.
Hey, listen. If I thought it was Trump vaccine, I ain't taking
it. Yeah. But just historical. You know, the healthcare field has a lot of historical racism behind it that, you know, we have to be accountable for, and so that mistrust is definitely very real and warranted. Not just from a historical context, but, you know, especially with all the social justice things that have gone on in the last year, you know, people they are very aware of some things right now. And the littlest thing like people are ready to call you out on it. And I think it's right at this point. The way that clinicians would talk to patients in the past, you know what? That's not going to happen right now. So, yeah, I think the skepticism is real. And I always like a healthy skepticism. I think that's fair. I think it's right to ask questions. And we in the healthcare community need to be ready to answer it, because that's just real talk. We have to help people get past their fears.
In the vein of healthy skepticism, can I ask a very serious question that might seem a little off? So, how are there so many different versions of one vaccine? Because, like, I know they don't all share the same formula because that's your proprietary formula and you don't want nobody else to have it, so they can't recreate your stuff. So it's like how do all of the like what's the process for, like, you know, Johnson and Johnson got their version of it. Like, to me, and like, I don't want to belittle it, but it seemed like Frosted Flakes versus Great Value versus the Kroger brand, and like those different. You feel me? It's like that's how it feels, and I don't want to not to make it small or anything like that, but it just looked like it. And it's like, for me, it'd be like, which one? Just let me know which one is Frosted Flakes, because that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
But I got that. The crazy part is, anybody who grew up like that got that.
Wow. Yeah. I think it's a good comparison. Right. You know, I think, you know, some vaccines are created a little bit differently, even though they all cover the same thing, right? And that can be a good thing, because there's some people who might not be able to tolerate how one vaccine is formulated. So, like, Johnson and Johnson was created differently than both Moderna and Pfizer, right? Which is why we might be seeing some of the side effects that we're seeing from that we didn't necessarily see with Moderna and Pfizer. Then with Moderna and Pfizer, you know, it's 3 weeks between the two Pfizer vaccines, 4 weeks between Moderna. It gives people options, which can be good. Yeah, my healthy skepticism kicks in because, you know, big pharma and everything. I'm like, well, listen, if they gonna make it, you know, and they can make some money off of it, they're gonna create something. But here's the thing: at least on our end of things, we get options, which is what we need. So along with options comes with education, and, you know, just really making sure that we are making sure that our patients are safe.
Is there a Frosted Flakes of the COVID vaccine?
Well, I personally like Moderna. I think Moderna is Frosted Flakes. That's me. Because, you know, that's the one I got. So that's why I'm going with that. But seriously, they're all good. So just like, you know, Great Value, you know, Frosted Flakes versus Kellogg's.
I didn't want to shame Great Value, because I had lived off Great Value. I appreciate it.
Listen, it's good stuff. It's good stuff, you know. And I think that's a good thing, is that it's all good stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So
I just want to welcome everybody again on. If you're just jumping on, we're talking about a new normal right now. That's our series. But this particular week, we're talking about COVID-19, and more in particular, the vaccine, which so many people are skeptical about. So many people have been concerned about, and we're just trying to get good information out there. So go ahead, like this post, share this post to people, because it's so important that we get this information out. Mm-hmm. You know, and let us know that you're watching by commenting, but definitely share it. We're on with, you know, Brennen B, you know, Pastor Tay, and then we have my sister and our queen, Sister Terri, who's a physician's assistant. Also, Pastor Tay, like I said, many of you all didn't know, works at Johns Hopkins, and he's actually on a research team for COVID-19. Pastor Tay, since we're having this conversation, now you actually went through COVID-19. I mean, you almost died from COVID-19.
Forced me to be in a kidney failure. I'm on dialysis right now. because of COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you went through it bad. I mean, like I said, those of you who saw the first encounter with Pastor Tay on it, we talked a lot about the fact that Pastor Tay called me and said, "Yo, like I don't think that I'm gonna make it through." I mean, he was really on his way out.
I was on my deathbed.
Yeah, but thank God you survived. Listen, there are a lot of people who are finding out that have gone through COVID, but don't want to share that they've gone through COVID. Is there like a shame, do you think, to admitting that you had COVID?
In my personal experience, just being within a community, they kind of take it as a badge of honor. I had it, you know what I mean? It wasn't much. I actually want to backtrack because there's one thing I did want to say about the different vaccines. At least in the inner city, I actually prefer Johnson & Johnson, and here's why. We go out and we, as a hospital, we go out to inner cities and give COVID shots. And a lot of times people get the first one and you never see them again for the second. So like in the inner city, but the problem is because of Johnson & Johnson being pulled, there's no trust in Johnson & Johnson as much as it is with the Pfizer. So that's something hospitals all across the nation are dealing with. When you're in the inner city, you're trying to give vaccines. They come for the first one, and you know, really they come for the $10 gift card we give, or whatever the food card we give to get them to the tent. But once they come, they never come back, and that's the biggest problem. So for me personally, I really push Johnson & Johnson because I know a lot of times you won't come back for the second, at least in those areas, you know what I mean? But nevertheless, what was the question? I'm sorry.
No. That's actually good. That's good to know. That's really good to know, bro. Because,
that's a very good point. That's a very good point to make, and particularly for like homeless populations and people like going out there. Yeah, you know, because you're not going to be able to get track of them again. So.
Yeah, we don't have numbers. You don't have addresses. You just never see them again. And then sometimes they'll come to a whole nother organization saying they want their second shot. But we're doing Pfizer. You got Moderna. You know what I mean? So it's a whole snowball effect of craziness with the vaccine shot. That's why I push for Johnson & Johnson.
So with that being said, and I know Miss Nikki has a question. So listen, I know that there's about a 4-week span of when you get the first Moderna or Pfizer so what happens if you you don't come back and then it's 2 months does it lose its effect if you wait too long to get the second shot?
Potentially. Typically, you know, you're supposed to get the Moderna vaccine 4 weeks after the first one. Pfizer, it's 3 weeks after the first one. However, they say it's pretty safe to get Moderna. You can go up to 42 days past the first shot. I think the reality is we just don't know what the effects are going to be if you wait between the two. What's been studied is 28 days after the first Moderna, 21 days after the first Pfizer. So that's what the recommendation is, because we know that the results that we see as far as it being effective is based off of that data. At the end of the day, we're still learning about it. We still don't know yet what you know, what the proper interval is going to be, or even if we're going to all need booster shots after all this is said and done. We don't know yet.
Yeah, I think that's something good and something we all should keep in mind, that you know they're giving recommendations based on what they researched, and if we ask a question that is outside of what they've researched, it's probably gonna be a no or I don't know. And like, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think it would be a bad thing if they just made an assumption based off of other research that had nothing to do with, you know, or wasn't in the parameters of that, and made a suggestion based off of that. So I think and it's something that, you know, it's not necessarily comforting to hear a no or I don't know from a doctor. But I think we should all look at it, you know, from a standpoint of at least they being honest, and I know or I don't know.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think that honesty kind of lends itself to the previous discussion of why people are skeptical when it comes down to the medical community. I feel like we haven't been honest enough sometimes about the limitations of medicine with our patients, and haven't been transparent about that. You know, people think that the doctors should be all knowing, and that's just not true. You know, medicine is as much of an art as it is a science. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're not alone. Believe me, you're not alone. So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the fault of how medicine was practiced years ago. You know, the doctor's here and the patient is, you know, just do what the doctor says. And now we're kind of having an awakening where no, we really do need more of the patient's input and say so in their care. And yeah, being very transparent about what it is that we are doing for the patient. What does it mean when you're putting me on that third blood pressure medication? Why? You know, just being real honest about that.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, like, so yeah, just again, if those who are joining, I saw some numbers go. If you're joining us, let us know you're in on the chat. This is a COVID-19 vaccine chat. Like this, share this link to your friends. We're talking. Jump in. Let it jump in on the conversation. Like, if you have questions, like, this is the time. Talk to us. Let us know what you think. Miss Nikki, that being said, she says, I have a serious question. If the vaccines are so safe, why are so many healthcare providers who get first-hand knowledge on the information about it before the rest of us do, why are they so skeptical of getting the vaccine themselves?
Wow.
Because they're human too, for starters. And again, like, just because, you know, going back to that transparency thing, you know, we're still in this. We can study it. We know how to read the studies, but at the end of the day, we're also very human. And you know, we like Brenda said earlier, I just need to wait a little longer to see what's going on with this, right? Some people want more long-term data. Well, obviously, we don't have that right now. We've only been given it since December here in the States. So, you know, I do think that is a big part of it. But yeah, I still have people at my job who have not been vaccinated, will not be vaccinated. They want to wait, and that's their choice.
Yeah.
Let's not jump that yet, because I know you about to go ahead and just finish off.
No, it's crazy, but I want to answer. I see Monica put up a question, but Monica, I just want to make sure, and this is something I do know the answer to. What about those who received the vaccine and still ended up with COVID? What was the issue? So I want to make it clear. I think one of the things that people don't realize that you can still get COVID even when you are vaccinated. The vaccine is not does not stop you from getting COVID. It stops the detrimental effects of COVID, so that you won't. A lot of people are dying from COVID, and so the vaccine helps to limit how much it affects you. That's the point of the vaccine, and so I think
the flu shot,
like the flu shot, like you get the flu shot, you can still flu, but it decreases the effects of what the flu, you know, what happens if you get the flu.
Yes.
I think, yeah, and I think her question, it kind of highlights something that, I mean, I think is different, and it's something that I was, you know, when I first heard you could still get COVID after getting the shot, I was like, why am I getting the shot? You know, because I think my perception of vaccines before this vaccine was like, if I get a shot for something, I'm never gonna get it again. Like I got the smallpox vaccine, I'm never, you know, or the Hep B or something, you know, like all the shots you get when you're younger and stuff like that. Like I got them and I never got those diseases, and so it's like, if I get this shot, why is it different that I could potentially get this virus? And that, and I'll admit, I could be completely wrong, and those vaccines do the same thing, but that was my perception. So,
and I could say, I guess the government or powers that be could do a better job of relaying that information. You know, we just hear the COVID shot, we're vaccinated. They don't tell you the nuances of what's going on. And again, to your point, Ms. Terri, it lends back to the first thing of being transparent and why they don't have trust, because we just hear, oh, I get this shot and I should be good. But you actually, you know what I mean? You're actually not. In fact, you know, there's still standard precautions you have to take.
One of the things I read today, or I heard today, just for the first time, and I know someone who caught COVID, who actually, while they were in the hospital, they ended up with diabetes. And I'm hearing that the information now is that COVID can cause diabetes 1, right? Is it diabetes 1? And so somebody asked me if you somebody said, well, you know, I don't want to get the vaccine because it might cause me it might get me sick. But I think it's important to say this too, like what people don't understand, especially younger people, is that getting COVID, because what they say is that COVID-19, it attacks your cells that create the insulin. And so, right, like what I want younger people, I think, and millennials to also hear is that, like, it's not just the death part, but it's the fact that if you allow yourself to go through COVID, you're also putting your body at danger and in jeopardy for the other side effects that could be more long term from allowing yourself to catch COVID as opposed to getting the vaccine. And I think that's important because a lot of times people are like, well, you know, if I get it, I'm young enough, I probably won't die. My chances are slim. But they don't think about, but if I get it, there's so many other things and ailments like losing my kidney, like high blood pressure, like, diabetes that can come along with that. So I think people aren't thinking that way because they're just like, oh, yeah, well, I probably won't die. And then they don't think about all the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? What do we see?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. You don't want to live with some of these effects. Let me tell you. I've seen after effects and what we call the COVID long haulers who are several months past their illness who still have a lot of the side effects of having the illness, and it's nothing to be played around with.
So I have a 2-part question for both of the medical experts. Ready? Yeah. Let's go.
We will get to some of your comments.
Yeah. I got you. I'll give you an answer.
Oh yeah, brother. You connected up there. So the first question is we want to come to the mask question first. So the first question with that is, should masks be mandated right now? Should they be mandatory for everybody to be wearing while the COVID virus is still going around? People still getting vaccinated. Should masks be mandatory right now?
I think it should be based. Yeah. I really think it should be based on what's going on in your community. If the infection rates are, relatively low, so it's low risk of anybody getting infected, you can make a call. I'm with you, Pastor Tate. Like, I'm still wearing my mask. They're lifting restrictions left and right, but I'm still wearing my mask. One of my main reasons is, I have her right now, my 4-year-old granddaughter. I have her pretty much every night babysitting, and she can't get a vaccine yet. And, I could still get infected. I've been vaccinated, but I could still get infected. I don't want her to get sick,
Right.
So I'm still wearing my mask. And frankly, people have still been a little reckless with some of their behavior here and there. So I'm not going to worry about them. I'm going to worry about me and wear my mask.
Pastor Tay?
I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've had people in a study and they say, man, I'm good. I got a good immune system. I ain't got COVID. And then we have to call them and say, hey, you have COVID. Like it happens more. You have no clue how much that happens within a day. I can't go too far in it because of regulations, but it happens so much.
Okay.
That to not to wear a mask, for me, my personal opinion, is reckless.
Okay.
Is reckless.
All right.
If you have a family you care about, if you have young kids it is reckless not to wear a mask right now because so many people can have. You're not always going to have the sniffles. You're not always going to lose your taste. You're not always going to be congested when you have COVID. You can be asymptomatic and just be walking around. And there's so many people who walk around and don't know they have it. So I'm still wearing my mask. I said until the end of the year and I think about it, but I'm still wearing my mask. Yeah.
Brother Brennen, people just nasty. Like, can we talk about that? Like, can we have a real conversation about how nasty pre-COVID world was for real?
Yeah.
We did it. We just now starting to realize what Henderson
but listen. 3 days about to come to you, Brennen. But listen, I also heard in the last week, like they've been talking about the fact that cold season and flu season post this pandemic is gonna be nasty.
Yeah.
Because they were like, the cold wasn't as big as it was during the flu because people had their mask on, they were sanitizing, but like people are now kind of back out, not putting the sanitizer on, not wearing the mask, and they were like, yo, the cold is gonna be so nasty this year. So like get ready, y'all, because it's coming. And nasty coming.
You got a cold.
Brother, Brent, go ahead, brother. Give your opinion. What you think?
Oh, as far I agree with Terry and Pastor Tay. Like, I mean, it's a thing of, and I am vaccinated. And I still, like, I wear my mask out. I don't go to the store without it, and I don't walk in your store without it. If I'm around, I think it's really a personal decision for me. To one. And I think this kind of goes into another one of our questions, but I hated the narrative that masks were taking away personal liberties, and allowing people not to be free. That because it's trash to me. Because it's like nothing about putting on a mask makes me any less free than what I was before. I can still breathe. And my thing is, we at some point we got to learn to stop being selfish, and realize that it ain't just about us. Like, this is a public health thing that is passed when we are around other people. Like, if you at home and you not wearing your mask, and you have it or not, you're not passing it to people. But when I'm out in public, I have the potential to pass it to someone. I have the potential to catch it and take it to my loved ones, and that's not an option for me. So I wear my mask.
Right. Yeah. So, Mom, you can go ahead and take these answers, because the second part of that question was, for y'all being vaccinated, do you think y'all should still wear a mask? And all three of y'all just answered yeah. So it's no point in me doing that question. So go ahead and read it.
Listen, there's so many. You guys who are online, again, welcome to the Well. We're talking about COVID-19 and specifically the vaccine. This month is going to be a whole month about the new normal. We're on with Miss Terri, who is a physician's assistant, Pastor Tay from the Blazing Radio Church Mountain Matter, who also is working at Johns Hopkins, researching COVID-19 stuff, and 3J, Brennen B. Listen, my godfather, again, who's in the hospital, hoping you get better, he says, I took the Pfizer vaccine. What made me take the vaccine is because of the number of people of color that were dying from COVID-19. His question, is the death ratio between whites and blacks, and seeing the number of rich people taking the vaccine. So I think he's saying, is the death ratio,
is there a difference?
Is there a difference? Yeah.
Oh, let's get dirty. Talk dirty to it, John. What's up?
I can't speak to the death ratio. I don't. My main thing is more so the impact on the inner city communities. That's where. And I can say the level of fear African Americans get, it doesn't compare versus someone who, in suburbia, and usually people in suburbia are of a different tint. They're not black.
They don't got the 50-70%.
Exactly. So if you have someone homeless and they have COVID, you know what I mean? They're not going they might go to emergency room, but even the stigma of someone coming in who's homeless into the emergency room, that's a whole nother snowball effect, right? And they just don't get the right care. Yeah. So I don't know the exact numbers as far as death ratios, but I can say African Americans per capita, at least in the inner city communities, do not get the same amount of care as white people do out in the sticks.
I would agree with that.
I believe that is true. I think that if people really look at, for example, I always look back at I'm not trying to get political, I always look back at Donald Trump and the treatment that he got when he tested positive for coronavirus versus what I've seen my patients go through. I mean, he got the gold star treatment. Okay.
Right.
And particularly at a time where those treatments weren't even available that much to the general public, so to speak, but he was able to access it, right? So I think you're absolutely right. I think we definitely see disparities in care. And yeah, it is based off of socioeconomic status, and yep, it is based off of race. Just this.
But even I mean, even nutrition. You look at how many food deserts there are in the inner city. You know what I mean? If you don't have the proper nutrition, and the carryout isn't necessarily the most sanitary place to get. You know, you getting your yakami. You know what I mean? Who knows what's in the, you know what I mean? So
I had to turn away a few Uber Eats because they ain't deliver it the right way. Like I wasn't. I had to let them
know. Yeah. Sure.
Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, like, you know, especially in a lot of where I work, we have a large refugee population, and they live in communities. You know, that it is not uncommon to see 10 people living in a 1-bedroom apartment. So, you know, it hit them hard. The virus hit them hard. And these are things that, you know, we don't talk about. We don't think about a lot of the times. But that's how certain communities live. That's how, you know, even as African Americans, you know, we have our sets. We congregate. We hang out like that. So,
gang.
Yeah, you know. So yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's thought about that much. And it should be on people's radar.
Yeah. Listen, I love the interaction. Again, if you're watching, definitely share this. Even the folks who are asking the questions, the folks who are commenting, please make sure you share this link to your friends and your family. This is good information. This is good conversation. Ones that we need to be having in every household until this thing is really passes by. So again, share, like, comment that you're here. Kalada, Butterfly, I see you. Kimberly, I see you. Like I said, Martin, we've got to some of your questions. Debbie, I see you. So there was a question Kimberly had. I had COVID-19 when it first came out and just recently received my first vaccine and scheduled for my second vaccine. Thus, since having COVID, I've been diagnosed with high blood pressure. And I'm hearing more people are displaying the side effect. But getting the shot is supposed to help lower this. Do you know if this is true? I guess what they're asking is, does the vaccine help to lower your blood pressure?
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I don't know about blood pressure.
I don't think so. I've not heard that. This is the first I've heard something like that. You know, high blood pressure is high blood pressure. Most of the time, we don't know what causes it. What I do think that maybe after having COVID, you might have a higher risk, just because COVID is known to affect blood vessels and all of that. So that could potentially raise your blood pressure. So I don't think that getting the vaccine is going to, quote unquote, cure your high blood pressure.
Absolutely. Butterfly says, I feel like people are being bullied into doing it. That's what I don't like, and people should have the right not to get it. It's their body and their choice. The government expects us to trust them after we watched thousands of people die over the past year, and that blood is on their hand, and they really didn't do anything. Now you want us to let you inject a vaccine into our body? So I guess she's kind of coming from that skepticism point of
what we was talking about earlier. You know, the trust that you expect us to do something, or you suggest us to take a virus that you guys gave us, and yet we look back at history. You've seen how you treated us before, so how are we supposed to trust you now? You know,
and
so
I think one clear thing we should differentiate in that in just that statement that she made is that we got to recognize that this is we kind of in two completely different governments right now. Like, I mean, I know the structure and it's still the same, but like the Negro in charge ain't the same person, and I think he on a different wavelength with the whole, like, even, I mean, and from a standpoint of, even I think things would have been done differently if he would have been in the president as this was all happening, because that was part of my concern with the last administration, was just the lack of care for it at all, to me. So that I think making that clear distinction, it is, I mean, listen, the government is still the government, but it is a little different. I got a little more hope for this government.
Yeah, but you know what? That's a good point, though, bro. That's a real good point, because listen, I try not to be too biased politically, but what I do like to say is, like, I will say, I think Trump handled this pandemic horribly. Because we were, I mean, listen, you had back in this, like in the early parts of this, he was like, yeah, like come April, it'll just disappear.
He was trying to tell people. He was trying to tell people to ingest like Lysol. What was it? The Lysol or bleach? Like he was like, fam, we not doing this. We not doing.
Ultraviolet light into your body. Like all of a sudden we was gonna be like X-Men.
And yet when he got the virus, had access to the gold star treatments that all of us would never be able to get.
Wasn't no Clorox.
Right? He didn't get Clorox. You know, he didn't get Clorox. So, yeah.
I love what Debbie said. Debbie said we live in a society where personal and listen. Let me just say this. Before I read her comment, let me just acknowledge that.
Man, they going in.
No, I love it. I love the child having the conversation. Listen, Debbie, I need to give a shout out to because actually Debbie was the reason that my mom and my grandmother my mom and myself got our shots. Debbie has been on it. Like the moment that the COVID-19 vaccine was being, handed out, she was on it with the seniors in her community. She could not get it right away because she was younger, but she got like maybe 8, 7, 10 folks signed up. She like
shout out to Debbie.
Was like, listen, but I got it like even more, bro. Like then I put her. Listen, I want to tell you the extent. I put her in a group because there was this group that I was put in randomly on from another pastor on like getting people their vaccines. The moment I saw it, I put Debbie in it. Debbie was on fire. I think Debbie has probably gotten like over 50, 60 people vaccinated because she has just been on it. So shout out to her for looking out for the community. And
absolutely.
Much love to you, Debbie.
Random voice of God. Can we get claps sometime in the future? Thank
you. We definitely got to get a soundboard. We got to get the sound
amplify. The voice of God is Jackie. Jackie, can we get some claps next time?
No, man, they going off though, bro.
What about? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are talking about. And Dion said, "Way to go, Debbie." Yeah, Debbie, you definitely get to your shout outs. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are also asking about the long term. Terri, Pastor Terri, you guys mentioned this. You talk about COVID and you talk about coronavirus and the fact that we've studied this, but here's what a lot of people are also skeptical about, and that's the whole. Well, we know that it works right now, but 5 years, am I going to see my DNA altered? 10 years, am I going to turn into a monkey? 20 years, am I going to look like Frankenstein? They're saying like, well, sure, I can get it now, but they're nervous about the long-term effects. What are you saying to people to cope with them or help them cope through that skepticism?
I think, which I get, and I think it's a legitimate question because, again, we've only been given this shot for 6 months here in the States. I do think that based off of the behavior of what we're seeing with the shots right now and what we know about vaccines in the past and how they've behaved, prospectively, we could say the vaccines, we're going to be okay, right? I don't think it's going to cause long-term damage or anything like that. The reality is, can I say that with 100% certainty? Of course not. But I can say just from prospectively, from what we know from previous vaccines, right now things are looking good.
That's good. That's good. I think that's the big thing, right? Like, so I invite people to, here's a shout out, but, or selfish plug. But the Bridge on Sunday evenings, that's where I'm pastoring at the Bridge, and 5 o'clock is our service. What's up, Sean? And Sean, it'd be great for you to get in on this conversation. He's over at the state's attorney's office, who is also pushing for people to get the vaccines. But one of the things that I've been preaching about, and I'm going to ask you guys a follow-up question to this, in terms of where do we see God in this? And I preached about the fact that when you look at the Passover, and on Sunday you'll see me talk about the fact that when the Passover happened in the Bible, here's the thing, right? We are used to the story of the Passover, right? Like we've seen Moses in the burning bush on TV, on the movies, and cartoons, the Prince of Egypt. We've seen that story over. We've heard it preached over and over again. But when you think about the first Israelites who are dealing with being enslaved, and then watching these plagues happen, the 9 plagues before the death plague that happened, right? They have no idea what in the world is going on. They've never seen this before. And then all of a sudden, Moses is like, look, you watched the first 9 plagues. Now this 10th one is coming, and you gotta put some actions behind it. So I want you to go. And ultimately what he says is take your pet, right? Take your first pet, your goat. But let's make it real. What he says is take your dog, take your cat, whatever your pet is, right? And he said, I want you to bring your pet inside. I want you to take it, and here's the thing, he says, your 1-year-old pet, your new baby pet, 1 year old, bring it inside. I want you to kill your pet. I want you to cook your pet. And then I want you to take the blood from your pet and smear it all over the door. Right? Like, you see what I'm saying? How crazy that sounds? Here's the thing. All of the Israelites did it because they were in tune with God. And so death passed over their house. And then I get to this place where I look at a lot of our fellow Christians who were like, oh yeah, like something's happening. But nah, I think I want to stay in church. Nobody says, I heard God say, stay in church. They're just like, well, I just believe we can stay in church and God's power is going to do. Nobody said, but I heard God tell me specifically, right? And then we get through this, and now we got this vaccine, and a lot of Christians are like, yeah, but I just don't know because we might turn into monkeys. But nobody's saying, nobody has said, but God told me not to take that. I have this issue. It drives, I'm bitten because I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So yeah, selfish plug.
I feel the energy. Sunday. I feel it.
So like, yeah, selfish plug. Tune in Sunday for the conversation. Yo, I just died. It's time to go home. Hey, Jackie, I love you. I love you so much for that, Jackie.
Nah, we needed the hand claps after that speech. He laid it down. Laid it down. Listen, y'all stop lying on God and saying God said do this and do that.
Oh man, thank you so much, Jackie. And listen, this Encounter the Well just never gets better. Welcome to the Encounter the Well. If you're just tuning in, we're a few minutes away from going off, but we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for having the conversation with us. It's an important conversation. Make sure you share this with your whole community.
Yeah.
Where do you guys see God in this? That's my question. Where do you all see God in this?
Well, since you went big,
I can go first.
Like God,
I think it's clear. I think like the world needed something. Listen, if he doesn't have your attention right now, like fam, I don't know what else is going to do it to an extent. And not to say that this all came about just so God could get our attention. But I do think that in these moments, it's the time for us to like, hey, listen. I mean, and part of it is, I mean, just church in general. Like it shifted everything we do. We come together every week, and this was a direct, like direct kind of antithesis to this. It was like, no, you can't come together. Like you can't do what you do on a normal to worship and to be in community and to be like to perform the practices of your religion. And so for me, what it did was actually break down a lot of the practices and help me to really build a relationship on a deeper level. So that's where I've found God. My relationship with God has changed in this past year. And I think it is a good thing. Not that and it's because it's not built on me coming to church on Sunday, me participating in every Bible study or thing like that. Like I see the value there, but my relationship is built on what I put in with God. And so from that standpoint, I feel like I've grown, and I've grown a stronger relationship with God. So that's where I've seen.
I'm a follow back on. I'm piggyback on Brennan, what he said. Starting off, if you didn't think if you didn't see God in this, I don't know what to tell you at all, for real either. Because if you shut a sickness that shut down not just the country but the world, that alone, it still is, right? It still is. That lets you, okay, God has something to like, okay, God got to be talking, like not just America, but everywhere, Asia, Europe, Australia, the whole world got shut down. All right, God, you talking, you got to be talking. And what helped me with Bevan, I mean, I said with Bevan, with Brennan, my relationship with God got stronger. My relationship with my family got stronger because I got with my family a little more. I started, you know what I'm saying, really talking to them on the phone and, you know, really getting closer to them because the world was taking everything with work and got to go out and do this and responsibilities and everything else. It got me closer to my family. It got me closer to my friends, you know, that I'm with on an everyday basis. It got me just closer to the people it got me closer to love.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It got me very, very closer to love, to understand what it is and just how it is for me, just in general. So with Brennan, love, God, it got me closer. With this pandemic got me closer to God. You know? So what y'all got? What y'all got?
I would say it really showed me the inner workings of God. And what I mean by that, as bad as COVID was, those stimulus checks helped a lot of
Shondo, shout out to the stimmies.
But like,
thank God for the stimmies.
Put out, but they put out because of COVID. Like, I know so many startup businesses that got funded. I know a lot of people got new cars. I mean, you know what I mean? So like, as bad as COVID is, God is still blessing. You know what I mean? God is still working. God is still sovereign. Like, you would have thought this would have killed the church. You would have thought, oh, we can't go to church. How are they going to survive? You ain't paying no electric bill. I know a lot of churches get more tithing than they ever got. Online ministries, and we're struggling for it. Now had to have. You got so many brand new pop-up ministries, people who had that time on their hands to launch new ministries, to do new things. You know what I mean? Books are being written. You know what I mean? Quality time. Things are happening. And through all that, God is still in the midst. You know what I mean? God is still sovereign. So I've learned, even though I went through my trial with COVID, if you look outside yourself and just see the world in general and try to instill, there's still goodness in God, even through the trials, even through the storm. Like there's still a calm. So that's what I learned.
Man, shout out to everybody that said they saw God through this whole thing. Shout out to every last one of y'all. Miss Terri, you're up the bat.
Absolutely. I agree with what everybody is saying. And I think something that has been highlighted for me is, you know, when I think about what God is saying in all of this, is how we have to take care of each other also. It's not just about me, right? It got me out of that selfish mindset, you know. Yes, I could get sick from coronavirus, but you know what? My behaviors could directly affect somebody else getting sick too. My behaviors could help somebody else through this whole process. So for me, it was just, you know, that sense of community and just coming together. And, you know, it's going to take all of us to get to the new normal, so to speak, right? We're not in here just a silo. We don't live in a bubble. We're all doing this together. And that was God's design, right? We're not supposed to be doing this by ourselves. Yeah. So that's a lot of what I got out of this.
Yeah, you're right. I'll give you a second. What I will say is this. I just want to read a couple of comments. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I believe that Martin says, I believe that God wants us to have a personal relationship, not a relationship where you go to church Sunday and think that that's all it is. I believe that God wants us all to walk with Him like Anik in the evening, get closer to God on a personal level. I know I saw somebody else say that they saw God all throughout this. That might have been Manika. I know Miss Nikki says facts. Blessings definitely were poured out during this time. It seemed hard at first, but there's been a lot of good that has come, and beauty for ashes. Dope comments. Listen, again, if you guys have been watching, you know, this is an important conversation. I think that we're about to close. Listen, but I want people to just, this kind of conversation is so important for right now. really don't understand the level of responsibility that we each have for ourselves and also for each other. You know, it's not, Devin said it best, it's not just about us, but we, Malika, you said just do our due diligence to help someone who isn't being safe be safe. We have to be safe for ourselves, but there's also others that are depending on us. Sean, you said the scripture says, "Be still and know that I am God." I implore people to talk to God in this moment and in this season. It's not enough to say, "Well, I just don't trust." And I know, and I'm listening. A lot of folks who had some great conversation points. What are the long-term effects? Right? Those are great questions. I'm not saying that you should not be skeptical at all. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you are, do your due diligence and have a conversation with God about it too, right? Like, research for yourself, get the information, find out, right? Like, what you can know. Everything isn't always put out there for us to understand in the best way possible. But that's when you have to do your homework and you have to do your own assignment. When, you know, I didn't even say this on Sunday, but like the thing about when that 10th plague hit, it was a requirement, right? That people had to put their own action behind it. You could no longer just sit and watch the plagues happen. God tells the Israelites, look, this requires you to prove that you got faith in me. And so now God is asking the world to do that. What are you doing? Are you on your knees and praying? Are you spending your time in prayer? You don't have to go to church just to find God. You can find people like Pastor Terri, Brennen B, Pastor Ro, 3J, Terry. You can find people in your household, I'm sure your family. Have conversation. Seek God and figure out, like, God, what do you want me to do in this moment? And don't just act on your own accord.
Yeah.
The scripture says we're made weak so that God can be presented as strong. You know what I'm saying? So in our weakness, God wants us to rely on God to pull us through this.
And Miss Nikki also put the scripture, pray without ceasing. So continue to do that.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Sean is true. Sean is another survivor. Sean says he really showed that his grace is sufficient. I survived COVID-19. Yes, indeed. My last thing is I want to give everybody just a moment to, like, if you have anything that you'd like to add to the conversation that hasn't been said or you want people to think about, what is that final thought from you?
No. I mean, I think more than anything, my what I've realized in this time away dealing with COVID is God is, and I think this has been my kind of personal thing. God has really been testing me and just asking me, can you continue to do what I tell you to do in spite of what everything looks like? Just do what I tell you to do and trust me with the rest. And that's where I'm at. So I encourage everybody to do the same.
Yeah, that's dope.
Oh, well, I guess everybody's about to sit there and wonder, like, what's going next? But I encourage everybody to go, the first and foremost, go to God. Ask him what he wants you to do. Ask him the plan. Ask him clarity. If you don't understand, ask him for understanding. Literally just go to him and find out everything. I take this, how I tell people in church. You hear the pastors, you hear all the ministers and all of us talking. Once we're done with this, do your research and talk to God. Don't just go off of what we say. We can
don't
sound
take my
good.
word. I don't know nothing.
Right, fact. Don't take my word.
I don't know nothing. Listen, don't be out here dying because you listen to beef.
Facts, right. Study, research, and just seek God through it all. You know what I'm saying? We all talking good. We all have our truth to it. However, the main truth is coming from God himself. So rely on him, and that's just it.
So I know I'm the pastor and I'm supposed to say something real biblically sound and spiritual.
Yep, I'm listening.
You take my ignorant route. Take my ignorant route. You got my ignorant route.
He said, take my ignorant route.
But realize, I'm going to go the other way. COVID is real, people.
Yes.
COVID is real. Whether you get vaccinated or not, COVID is real. It's not the flu. It's not. It's COVID. Like, be careful. Please, wear your mask. Like, it's real. And that's what we're trying to know, that COVID is real. It's out here. And God is good.
In these streets.
Amen. There's the pastor. There's the pastor. Last but not least, the queen. What you have?
So, I don't know that I have much more to add than what you wonderful people have already just said. I agree with everything that you all have said, and that God has been in it the whole time. He has not left us during this time, and he just never will. He does not fail. So just always remember that, yes, COVID is real, but so is God. And he just will not fail us. He will not leave us. He will not forsake us. He is a healer, and he's still in the healing business. So we don't need to be afraid of COVID, but we do need to be wise. Trust God in it all.
Yes. Shout out to everybody who was on. Brother Sean said he came out the hospital. He went in with COVID and pneumonia, but he came out with a new career. Shout out for that.
Hey, look at that. What hospital he went to? I need to go there.
You going with an illness, come out with a job.
Where you at? Where you at?
That's the come up hospital, boy. That's the hustle hospital.
But I ain't trying to get sick to get in the career. But I'm with you. Miss Nikki,
I can fake. You know, black folks is fake sick.
I got the coronas with an S. Miss Nikki says, all in this moment, it's all about trusting God. If you don't feel peace about it, don't move and pray about it. If you do feel peace about it, make your decision and do what you have to do. Everyone has something different to do. And Martin, again, we're praying for you to get better, Godfather. He says it's all about faith, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's all about faith. Listen, if you've watched with us tonight, we invite you. If you did not catch this from the beginning, there's some important facts, some important conversation that you missed. We invite you to go back, check it out. And then we invite you to go and share this with your churches. Go and share this with your communities. There was some really good information, and it's a really good example of how you can have this conversation. And have this conversation with making some sense and a little laughter and fun in the midst of that.
Black folks talk for a whole hour about medicine and didn't mention Robitussin. This good stuff.
Or Vicks. We didn't talk about Vicks either.
Okay.
Ain't nobody taking that. Oh man.
That's right. That's the black people's medicine. Go get me some ginger ale.
Right. Taking that. Taking that.
Listen, if you support this type of ministry, because it's a new type of ministry, it's an evolution of what church can look like, we invite you to visit us on all of our social media platforms. And you can find us both in Facebook and at Instagram at Encounter the Well. Everything is the same. If you think we should get a Twitter, let us know. We might just do that. But right now, we're on Facebook and Instagram. You can go to our website and follow us at www.encounterthewell.org. And if you would like to sow seeds and help us out, listen, Jackie is on it. You can text to give any dollar amount, just like the picture, to the number 84321, and we will receive that donation. You can also go back to the website that you saw earlier, and there's a tab on there for giving. We love for you to invest in us. We believe that there's a whole generation of folks that are looking for God, some who already have God, but are looking for new ways and new means to be able to have conversation and dialogue about God. And I believe that the well is it. So as we evolve, we want to include as many people as we can. We're also looking forward to partnering up with the State's Attorney's Office here in Prince George's County for some events that are going to come up as we're trying to stop the violence that is happening all over the nation. So we invite you to visit us and keep in touch with us. Listen, on tomorrow, matter of fact, maybe tonight, but definitely on tomorrow, we want you to come back to our page on Facebook. Our event for next week will be up. We want you to tag that you'll be there. I love it. My godfather says, could this be the new normal? Yes, the well could be the new normal.
The normal could be the normal.
Yes, it absolutely is. I love it. I love it. All right, next, I don't know what that was.
Hey, that means it's time to go. Wrap it up.
Listen, that's it. Our next conversation next week, we're still sticking with the theme, a new normal, and we're going to talk about traditions. What are traditions? So many people are talking about the tradition of church, the old traditions. Should we still adhere to the traditions? And there are even traditions of our families, of our world, of our folks, of our black folks. They're just traditions, and we want to know what is that, and are we still walking along with that? So make sure you meet us here next week. Let somebody know about the well. Share it, spread it. After we get off, spread this as much as you can. And we love you. There's nothing you can do about that. And we'll see you again. And shout out to Amplify Network.
One other thing. I'm sorry. I got to be the celebrity in this. Ray Jackson, 3J, For Your Love. Y'all check that out. I'm done.
That's it. Thank you for the time,
yeah.
That's it. A Blazing Radio on Sundays at 2 o'clock.
2 to 4.
Terry, thank you so much, Queen. We appreciate you. Brennen B, thank you for
having me, guys.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And we hope to see you again soon. We'll see you all next week. We love you. Peace out.
Love. Yeah, that was fun today.
Yo, definitely. I mean, the comments were good.
Hey, man. Thanks, God.